Story 1. Working at Footwear Frenzy has given me plenty of stories about customer service nightmares. But yesterday's incident takes first place in the most audacious return attempt category. I've seen people try to return all sorts of things, but this one really pushed the boundaries of reality. I was working the customer service desk during what had been a fairly quiet Wednesday afternoon when she walked in, a woman I'll call Karen, carrying a shopping bag with determination written all over her face. The moment she pulled out the shoes, I knew this wasn't going to be a normal return. The shoes were, to put it mildly, destroyed. They looked like they'd walked through every mud puddle in the state, been through a war zone, and then been used as chew toys by a pack of dogs. The once white sneakers were now a lovely shade of gray-brown, with the soles hanging off and laces that had clearly been replaced multiple times. Karen slammed them on my counter with the confidence of someone returning unused items still in their original packaging. "Karen, I want to return these." Me, "Do you have your receipt?" Karen, "No, I lost it, but I bought them here." I picked up one of the shoes to examine it. The brand was Stepmaster, a company I'd never heard of, which was odd considering I'd worked at Footwear Frenzy for 5 years and knew our inventory inside and out. Me, "I'm sorry, but we don't carry this brand." Karen, "Yes, you do. I bought them right here 2 years ago." Me, "Ma'am, I've worked here for 5 years, and we've never sold Stepmaster shoes." Karen, "Are you calling me a liar? Get me your manager." I called my manager over, knowing this was about to get interesting. Karen was already pulling out her phone, presumably to start recording what she thought would be her victory over retail policy. Manager, "How can I help you today?" Karen, "Your employee is refusing to accept my return. I bought these shoes here, and they're defective." My manager picked up one of the shoes and examined it, trying not to smile at its obvious state of decay. Manager, "When did you purchase these?" Karen, 2 years ago, right here in this store. I remember exactly, it was during your summer sale." Manager, "That's interesting, because Stepmaster went out of business in 2015. They haven't manufactured shoes in almost 9 years. The look on Karen's face was priceless. She opened and closed her mouth several times, like a fish out of water. Karen, "Well, maybe it was longer ago than I remember. I still bought them here." Manager, "No, you didn't. We've never carried Stepmaster products in any of our stores." Karen, "How would you know? You weren't even working here then." Manager, "Actually, I've been the manager here for 12 years. I order all our inventory personally." A small crowd of customers had gathered nearby, pretending to browse the clearance rack, while obviously listening to every word. Karen, "Fine. Then give me store credit. These shoes are clearly defective." My manager held up one of the shoes, displaying it like evidence in a court case. Manager, "Ma'am, these shoes haven't been defective so much as destroyed through years of wear. Look at the wear pattern on the soles. These have been worn almost daily for years." Karen, "That's not wear and tear. They just fell apart." Manager, "The replacement laces suggest otherwise. And is that?" Duct tape holding the sole together. Karen, "I had to use tape because they fell apart so quickly. This is terrible quality." Manager, "Which would be a valid complaint if we'd actually sold them to you. But since Stepmaster hasn't existed since 2015, and we've never carried their products, I'm afraid I can't help you." A teenager who had been browsing nearby suddenly spoke up. Teen customer, "Hey, aren't those the shoes they used to sell at that discount store that closed down? My mom used to buy them for gardening because they were so cheap." Karen's face turned an impressive shade of red. Karen, "Nobody asked you. This is between me and the manager." Manager, "Actually, the young man is right. Stepmaster was a discount brand sold exclusively at Budget Mart before they went bankrupt in 2015. Karen, Well, maybe that's where I bought them, but you should still take them back." Manager, "Why would we accept a return for shoes we've never sold, from a brand that hasn't existed in nearly a decade?" Karen, "Because the customer is always right." My manager actually laughed at this point, which only made Karen more furious. Manager, the customer is always right about what they want, not about rewriting history or creating fictional purchases. Karen, this is terrible customer service. I'm going to report you to corporate. Manager, feel free. I'm sure they'd love to hear about how we refuse to accept a return for products we've never sold. One of our regular customers, an elderly woman who always brings us cookies during the holidays, had been watching the whole scene unfold. Elderly customer, honey, I think it's time to admit defeat and buy some new shoes. Karen, mind your own business, Grandma. Manager, okay, that's enough. I'm going to have to ask you to leave now. Karen, fine. But I'm posting about this on social media. Everyone will know how you treat your customers. She grabbed her destroyed shoes and stormed toward the exit, but not before turning around for one last attempt. Karen, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. Manager, make sure to tell them about the duct tape. That should really strengthen your case. After she left, the store erupted in laughter. The elderly customer patted my manager on the back. Elderly customer, that was better than cable television. Sure enough, Karen did post about us on social media. She shared photos of the shoes, claiming we had sold her defective merchandise and refused to make it right. Unfortunately for her, several commenters recognized the Stepmaster brand and pointed out that it had been defunct for years. Someone even found an old Budget Mart advertisement from 2014 showing the exact same model of shoes on clearance for $9.99. Karen quickly deleted her post, but not before it had been screenshot and shared among our staff. We now have it printed out and posted in our break room, right next to our Best Returns Wall of Fame. The photo of the duct-taped shoe has become something of a legend in our store. The best part? 2 days later, Karen came back wearing brand new sneakers purchased from our competitors across the mall. She pretended not to see us as she hurried past our store, but we all noticed she was carefully keeping her receipt in her purse. I guess some lessons do stick, even if they're learned the hard way. Story 2. I work as a security officer at Westfield Mall, and last week we finally caught someone who'd been abusing our handicapped parking spaces for months. We'd received several complaints about a silver SUV regularly parking in these spots, but the driver always had a disability placard hanging from their mirror. Well, it turns out appearances can be deceiving. The situation came to a head when a woman, let's call her Karen, pulled into one of our prime handicapped spots near the main entrance. She hopped out of her car, looking perfectly able-bodied, and hung her placard before practically jogging toward the mall entrance. What she didn't notice was that a legitimate disabled parking permit holder was waiting for that exact spot. This person, an elderly gentleman who uses a wheelchair, had been watching her park. Elderly man, excuse me, miss. Karen, what? Elderly man, that's a handicap spot. Are you disabled? Karen, of course I am. Mind your own business. She stormed off, but the elderly man wasn't letting it go. He called our security office and reported her, describing both her car and the placard. When I arrived to check it out, something about the placard looked off. After 15 years on this job, you develop an eye for the real ones. This one was slightly discolored and missing some of the security features that legitimate placards have. I radioed for backup and waited. Sure enough, Karen returned about an hour later, loaded with shopping bags. Excuse me, ma'am. Could you please show me your disability documentation? Karen, what? Why? We need to verify your handicapped parking permit. Karen, this is harassment. I have a right to park here. Yes, if you have a legitimate disability and permit. Could you show me the documentation, please? Karen, I left it at home. I shouldn't have to prove anything to you. By now, my colleague had arrived, and we explained that we were trained to spot fake permits. Karen, fine, I bought it online. But the mall never has any good parking spots, and I spend thousands of dollars here every month. Ma'am, using a counterfeit disability permit is a serious offense. Karen, It's not counterfeit. It's a replica. That's different. The elderly man who'd reported her was still nearby, waiting for the spot. Elderly man, people like you are why I sometimes have to park at the far end of the lot, even with a legitimate permit. Karen, oh, please, you're just jealous because I found a clever solution to the parking problem. Me, ma'am, we're confiscating this fake permit and issuing you a ticket for unauthorized use of a handicap space. Karen, you can't do that. I paid good money for that permit. My colleague, you just admitted to purchasing a counterfeit government document. Karen, I want to speak to your supervisor. This is discrimination. Me, you're welcome to speak with them. But first, you need to move your vehicle. Karen, fine, but I'm never shopping here again. My colleague, that might be best, considering you're now banned from our parking facilities. Karen, banned? For what? Me, fraudulent use of a disability permit, unauthorized parking in a handicapped space, and verbal abuse of a disabled person. She got into her car, still arguing that we were being unfair and threatening to sue. As she backed out, the elderly gentleman smoothly pulled his van into the spot, giving us a thankful wave. We added her license plate to our banned list and forwarded the information about the fake permit to other malls in the area. Turns out she'd been pulling this stunt at several shopping centers. The next day, she actually tried to come back with a different fake permit. Apparently she'd bought several. But our automated license plate recognition system flagged her car immediately, and she was turned away at the entrance. She left a series of angry reviews online about how our mall discriminates against smart shoppers who find creative parking solutions. Several disabled shoppers responded with their own stories about struggling to find parking because of people like her. The elderly man who reported her became something of a local hero. He now volunteers with the mall's accessibility committee, helping us identify and stop other parking permit scammers. As for Karen's clever solution to the parking problem, she now has to park in the far lot of a different mall and walk much further than she would have if she just used regular parking spots in the first place. Story 3. I've been working at Megamart for 6 years now, and while retail always has its share of drama, nothing compares to the incident that almost ruined my coworker's life and ended up backfiring spectacularly on the customer who caused it all. It started on a busy Saturday afternoon. My coworker, let's call him the stock guy, was restocking shelves in the electronics department when a woman we'll call her Karen stormed up to him, waving a sale flyer. Karen, where are the laptops from this advertisement? Stock guy, I'm sorry, but that sale ended last week. Karen, no, I'm looking at the ad right now. She thrust the paper at him. The date clearly showed it was from the previous week. Stock guy, yes, that was last week's advertisement. This week's deals are different. Karen, well, I want last week's price. I've been saving up for this. Stock guy, I apologize, but we can't honor expired advertisements. Would you like to see our current laptop deals? Karen, this is false advertising. I want to speak to your manager. I was working nearby and called our manager over the radio. Meanwhile, Karen was getting louder. Karen, you're trying to scam me. I demand the advertised price. Stock guy, ma'am, please lower your voice. I'm happy to show you comparable laptops in your price range. Karen, don't tell me to lower my voice. This is America. I can talk however I want. Our manager arrived, and stock guy stepped back to continue his work while she handled the situation. Manager, how can I help you? Karen, your employee was extremely rude to me about this advertisement. Manager, I see this is from last week. I apologize, but we can't honor expired sales. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm calling corporate. She pulled out her phone and started filming, walking after stock guy who was trying to continue his work. Karen, everyone needs to see how terribly you treat customers. Manager, ma'am, you need to stop filming our employees. It's against store policy. Karen, I know my rights. You can't stop me from filming in public. Manager, actually, This is private property. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." That's when Karen's entire demeanor changed. Her face contorted into an expression of exaggerated distress. "Karen, leave? After what your employee did to me? He touched me inappropriately." The entire department went silent. Stock guy froze, looking horrified. "Stock guy, what? I never touched you." "Karen, he did. When I showed him the advertisement, I was too shocked to say anything at first." "Manager, that's a very serious accusation. We'll need to review our security footage." "Karen, go ahead. You'll see everything." She was smirking, probably thinking she'd found a way to get what she wanted. What she didn't know was that our store had recently upgraded to a new high-definition security system with complete coverage and audio recording. Our loss prevention team reviewed the footage immediately. It clearly showed the entire interaction, stock guy maintaining a professional distance the entire time, never coming within 3 feet of Karen. "Manager, ma'am, our footage shows that no physical contact occurred. Making false accusations is a serious offense." "Karen, your cameras must be wrong. I know what happened." "Manager, would you like us to call the police to file a report? We can provide them with the footage." Karen suddenly changed her tune. "Karen, well, maybe I was mistaken. I've been very stressed lately." "Manager, you just accused my employee of assault to try to get a discount on a laptop." "Karen, it was a misunderstanding. I'll just leave now." "Manager, I'm afraid it's not that simple. We've already documented this incident." Stock guy had worked with us for 4 years. He was a college student working part-time to pay for his engineering degree. A false accusation like this could have ruined his life. He decided to press charges for defamation. The store provided him with the footage and legal support. They take false accusations very seriously. Karen tried to play it off as a misunderstanding in court, but the footage didn't lie. The audio clearly captured her admitting she'd been saving up for the laptop, proving she was lucid and aware of her actions. The judge was not amused. Karen had to pay all legal fees and damages. The court also granted a restraining order preventing her from entering any of our store locations. The mall management, after reviewing the case, decided to ban her from the entire shopping center. Her photo was added to every store's security office. We have a wall near our security office with photos of banned customers, mostly shoplifters and people who've been aggressive with staff. Karen's photo was added with a special note, "Banned for life false accusations." The aftermath was even more dramatic. Karen's social media crusade backfired when people started sharing the security footage, which became public record after the trial. Her attempt to paint herself as a victim fell apart as the video spread through local community groups. Her workplace found out about the incident when the court documents became public record. While she didn't lose her job, she was passed over for a promotion because they couldn't put someone with a documented history of false accusations in a management position. Stock guy finished his degree and now works as an engineer, but he still stops by the store occasionally. The incident actually helped him in an unexpected way. A law firm that heard about the case offered his girlfriend, now wife, an internship, which turned into a full-time position after she passed the bar. Karen tried to appeal the mall ban 6 months later, claiming it was causing her undue hardship because our mall has the only high-end makeup store in town. The mall management sent her a list of online retailers and suggested she do her shopping there. We still occasionally get customers trying to use expired ads for discounts, but nobody has tried the false accusation route since then. We make sure all new employees know about the incident during training. It's become our store's example of why we have such extensive security coverage. The laptop Karen wanted. It went on sale again 3 months later for an even better price. Some of us wondered if she'd try to come in disguise to buy it, but she never did. Probably because her photo was prominently displayed at every entrance. The most ironic part? If she'd just been polite about the expired advertisement, our manager probably would have offered her a different discount or payment plan. Instead, she ended up with legal fees that could have bought dozens of laptops. Story 4. I've been a park ranger at Riverside Park for over 8 years, and I thought I'd seen every possible way people try to reserve our popular picnic spots. From leaving chairs at dawn to trying to bribe our maintenance staff, I've witnessed it all. But last weekend, we had an incident that set a new record for entitled behavior. It started a week before Memorial Day weekend. During my morning rounds, I noticed something odd at our main gazebo. Someone had wrapped it in yellow caution tape and posted official-looking signs everywhere. Reserved for private event, do not remove, and violators will be prosecuted. Now, our park has a strict first-come, first-served policy for the gazebo. The only exception is for permitted events, which require official paperwork and payment. I checked our records, no permits had been issued for that weekend. While I was examining the signs, a woman, let's call her Karen, marched up to me. Karen, good, you've seen my reservation signs. Make sure nobody touches them. Me, ma'am, you can't reserve the gazebo this way. We have a first-come, first-served policy. Karen, well, that's ridiculous. I have 50 people coming for our family reunion next weekend. I need to guarantee we have this space. Me, if you want to guarantee the space, you'll need to apply for an event permit. Karen, a permit? It's a public park. I pay taxes. This gazebo belongs to everyone. Me, exactly, which is why one person can't claim it for a week. Karen, but I need this specific gazebo. It has the best view and enough space for our catering setup. Me, then I suggest arriving early on the day of your event. Karen, early? I'm not getting up at dawn for a picnic. That's why I'm reserving it now. Me, I'll have to remove these signs. They're not authorized. Karen, don't you dare touch my signs. I spend good money on those. She actually pulled out her phone and started recording me. Karen, I'm documenting this. If anything happens to my reservation, I'll sue the park. Me, ma'am, putting up signs doesn't constitute a reservation. I have to remove them. Karen, fine, but I'll be back every day to put up new ones. True to her word, she came back daily. We'd remove the signs, and she'd put up new ones, each more strongly worded than the last. By Friday, she'd added laminated photos of her family and a fake permit she'd clearly made herself. The morning of her reunion arrived, and as expected, another family had gotten to the gazebo first. They were already setting up for their child's birthday party when Karen arrived with her carload of decorations. Karen, what do you think you're doing? This gazebo is reserved. Father, there wasn't anything here when we arrived at 8 a.m. Karen, yes there was. I had signs up all week. The park rangers must have removed them again. Mother, we checked with the office, it's first come, first served. Karen, no. I have 50 people coming. You need to pack up and leave. The birthday boy, who looked about 6, started to get upset. Karen, see? Your kid is already crying. Just move to one of the regular picnic tables. Father, we're not moving. We've already set up. Karen, this is unacceptable. I'm calling the police. The family looked at each other in disbelief as Karen pulled out her phone and actually dialed 911. Karen, yes, hello? I need police assistance at Riverside Park. Someone has stolen my reserved gazebo. The family tried to continue with their setup while Karen paced around the gazebo, describing her emergency to the dispatcher. Meanwhile, her own family members started arriving. Karen's sister, what's going on? Where should we put the food? Karen, don't unpack anything. The police are coming to remove these squatters from our gazebo. Karen's brother, what do you mean, our gazebo? Karen, I reserved it. I had signs up and everything. Her family members looked mortified when they realized what was happening. Karen's sister, you said you had a proper reservation. Karen, I did. I marked it as ours a week ago. 2 police officers arrived, looking slightly confused about being called to a gazebo dispute. Officer, what seems to be the problem here? Karen, these people are in my reserved gazebo. I had signs up all week. The officers looked at the family, who calmly explained the situation. I came over to confirm the park's policy. Officer: Ma'am, putting up unauthorized signs doesn't constitute a legal reservation. Karen: But I needed this spot. Look how many people we have. Officer: That's not how public spaces work. You can't claim them in advance without proper permits. Karen: This is outrageous. I want to speak to your supervisor. Officer: Ma'am, we're not mall security. Either find another spot or leave the park. Karen's family had heard enough. They started gathering their things and heading toward the regular picnic area. Karen's brother: This is embarrassing. We're moving to the other tables. Karen: Don't you dare. Stand up for our rights. Karen's sister: Our right to what? Ruin a child's birthday party. One by one, her family members walked away, leaving Karen standing alone with her box of decorations. Karen: Fine. Go ahead and abandon me. This is exactly why we needed this reunion. She ended up sitting alone at a picnic table near the parking lot, angrily eating from her party-sized potato salad container while watching the birthday party in her gazebo. Every few minutes, she'd loudly comment about how the other family was doing everything wrong and not even using the space properly. The birthday party, meanwhile, was a huge success. The family even invited Karen's relatives to share their cake, which only made Karen more furious. Her family spent the afternoon having a great time without her, while she sat alone updating her social media about how public parks are running scams by not honoring legitimate reservations. The next morning, I found new signs on the gazebo: available for legitimate reservations only, no caution tape accepted. Apparently, our maintenance staff has a sense of humor. We still see Karen driving by the park, sometimes, glaring at the gazebo. Her family still comes for picnics, but they make sure to arrive early, and they always check with the office about proper reservation procedures. Story 5. I've been a professional dog groomer for over a decade, running my own small shop called Perfect Cuts. Most of my clients are regulars who understand that properly grooming a long-haired dog takes time, skill, and yes, money. But yesterday, I encountered someone who apparently thought pet grooming should come with mid-service bargaining. The morning started normally enough. A woman, let's call her Karen, came in with a beautiful Siberian husky who clearly hadn't seen a groomer in months. The dog's coat was matted in places and desperately needed attention. Me: Hello. What can we do for your pup today? Karen: He needs everything: bath, cut, nail, the works. How much? I examined the dog's coat condition and explained our pricing. Me: Given the matting and length, we're looking at $120 for a full groom. It'll take about 3 hours. Karen: That's fine, just make him look good. She signed our service agreement and left, saying she'd be back in 3 hours. I got to work, starting with removing the mats, a process that takes patience and care to avoid hurting the dog. About halfway through the grooming, Karen returned unexpectedly. Karen: I just wanted to check on his progress. Me: We're about halfway done. He's being very good. Karen: Halfway? It looks like you've hardly done anything. I explained that I'd spent considerable time removing mats and had finished one side of the dog. Karen: Well, I've been thinking, since you're only halfway done, I should only have to pay half price. Me: I'm sorry, but we agreed on the price before starting. The time and effort required doesn't change. Karen: But $120 is ridiculous. My friend gets her dog groomed for $60. Me: Different breeds and coat conditions require different amounts of work. Your dog needed extensive mat removal. Karen: That's not my problem. I'm only paying $60. Take it or leave it. I looked at the dog, perfectly groomed on one side, still shaggy and matted on the other. Me: Then I'll stop here. Karen: What? Me: If you're only willing to pay half price, you'll get half a groom. I can't work for free. Karen: You can't leave him like this. He looks ridiculous. Me: You're right, he does. Would you like me to finish the job for the agreed price? Karen: This is extortion. I'm calling the police. Me, for what? You signed our service agreement, which clearly states our prices and policies. Karen, I don't care what I signed. No dog grooming should cost this much. By now, her poor husky was looking confused, sitting there with his Jekyll and Hyde appearance, one side sleek and beautiful, the other side still a mess. Me, your options are, let me finish the groom for the agreed price, or take your half-groomed dog home. Karen, fine, I'm taking him, and I'll make sure everyone knows how horrible you are. She tried to leave without paying anything, but I reminded her that she still owed for the work already done. Me, that'll be $60 half price for half a groom, just like you wanted. Karen, this is robbery. She threw 320s at my counter and stormed out, dragging her confused dog behind her. My next client, a regular with a golden retriever, had watched the whole scene. Regular client, please tell me you got that on camera. I had, of course. Our security cameras capture everything for exactly these types of situations. The story doesn't end there, though. About an hour later, I got a call from another grooming salon across town. Other groomer? Hey, quick question, did you happen to have a husky in today? Only groomed on one side? Me, let me guess, she's there now? Other groomer? Yep. Says you refused to finish the job after she politely requested a discount. I explained what really happened. Other groomer, that's what I figured. She's trying to get us to match her imaginary $60 price too. Me, good luck with that. Other groomer, oh, we quoted her $150 because of the uneven cut that needs fixing. She's furious but paying it because no one else will take her today. Later that afternoon, Karen's teenage daughter came into my shop. Daughter, I'm so sorry about my mom earlier. She does this everywhere, tries to bargain prices after services are half done. She got banned from her hair salon last month for the same thing. Me, no worries. How's your dog looking? Daughter, the other place fixed him, but mom's still complaining about having to pay more than she would have here. Me, maybe next time she'll understand that the price is the price. Daughter, probably not. But Dad says she's not allowed to take the dog to groomers anymore. He'll be bringing him from now on. The next day, I found Karen's 1-star review online. Horrible service. Left my dog looking like two different dogs. Had to pay twice to get him fixed. Avoid this place. Fortunately, my regular clients thought this was hilarious. Several of them shared photos of their perfectly groomed dogs in response to her review, along with comments about how you get what you pay for. The other grooming salon also left a reply. Thank you for visiting us today. Just a reminder that fixing another groomer's unfinished work due to payment disputes will always cost more than paying the original agreed-upon price. The best part? Karen's husband called to schedule the dog's next appointment. Husband, I'll be handling all the dog's grooming appointments from now on. And yes, I understand and agree to your prices. Me, happy to help. Though I should warn you, we do have a strict, no mid-groom bargaining policy. Husband, trust me, I know all about her bargaining attempts. I'm not allowed to take her to restaurants anymore either. We now have a new sign at the front desk. All grooms must be paid in full. We do not offer half-price half-grooms. Most clients don't get the joke, but those who were there that day always laugh. Story 6. I've been serving at La Maison Dorée for 3 years now, and while we get our share of demanding customers, nothing quite compares to what happened during last night's dinner service. Our restaurant is one of the most upscale in the city, with prices to match our reputation, but as we learned, some people think a high price tag means they can try to get their meal for free. It started normally enough. A woman, let's call her Karen, came in for dinner alone, ordering our most expensive items, the truffle-infused lobster bisque, Wagyu beef with foie gras, and a bottle of premium wine. Throughout her meal, she seemed perfectly content, cleaning every plate and even commenting on how good everything was. Me, how is everything tasting? Karen, divine. Your chef really knows what they're doing. She even asked for extra bread to soak up the last of her bisque. But when I brought her check, that's when everything changed. Karen, I need to speak to your manager immediately. Me, is something wrong? Karen, this entire meal was absolutely terrible. I demand a full refund. I looked at her spotless plates in confusion. Me, I'm sorry to hear that. Could you tell me what was wrong with the food? Karen, I shouldn't have to explain myself. The customer is always right. Get your manager. I fetched our manager, who approached her table with concern. Manager, I understand there was a problem with your meal? Karen, yes, everything was completely unacceptable. I want a full refund. Manager, I see. Could you help us understand what was wrong so we can address it with our kitchen? Karen, I don't have time to list everything wrong with it. Just process my refund. Manager, ma'am, our records show you finished every course and even complimented the food to your server. Karen, well, I had to eat it, didn't I? I was hungry. Other diners were starting to look over at her table. She wasn't exactly using her indoor voice. Manager, I can offer you a 20% discount as a gesture of goodwill. Karen, absolutely not. I'm not paying a cent for this terrible meal. Manager, if the food was inedible, why didn't you say something when we checked on you? Karen, are you calling me a liar? She started getting louder, pulling out her phone to record. Karen, everyone needs to see how this place treats paying customers. Manager, ma'am, please lower your voice. You're disturbing other diners. Karen, I will not. I want everyone to know how you're trying to force me to pay for inedible food. A couple at the next table couldn't help but comment. Male diner, the food you called inedible that we watched you enjoy for the past hour? Karen, mind your own business. Manager, ma'am, either accept the discount and pay your bill, or I'll have to call security. Karen, go ahead, call them. I'd love to tell them how you're trying to scam me. Our manager nodded to the host, who picked up the phone. We have an arrangement with the building's security team for exactly these types of situations. Karen, what? You're actually calling security? Over a simple complaint? Manager, over a refusal to pay for services rendered, yes. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm a paying customer. Manager, actually, you're refusing to pay, which makes this attempted theft of services. 2 security guards arrived remarkably quickly. They must have been having a slow night. Security guard, what seems to be the problem? Karen, these people are trying to make me pay for terrible food. Security guard, did you eat the food? Karen, well, yes, but... Security guard, then you need to pay for it. Karen, but it was awful. Security guard, ma'am, we can handle this one of 2 ways. You can pay your bill now, or we can call the police and ban you from the premises. Suddenly, Karen's tune changed completely. Karen, fine, I'll pay, but I'm never coming back here again. Manager, that might be for the best. She yanked out her credit card and practically threw it at me. I ran it through and brought back the slip for her to sign. That's when she pulled out a penny from her purse and placed it deliberately on the table. Karen, there's your tip. That's exactly what your service was worth. She stormed out, but not before announcing to the entire restaurant. Karen, don't eat here. They force you to pay even when the food is terrible. Male diner, you mean they expect payment for food you ate? The horror. The other diners actually applauded as she left. Several of them flagged me down afterwards to add extra to their tips, saying they felt bad about how she treated me. We thought that was the end of it, but this morning we found her 1-star review online. Horrible experience. They force you to eat terrible food and then make you pay for it, and they threaten to call the police on innocent customers. Gordon Ramsay would shut this place down. The best part? Gordon Ramsay had actually dined with us last month and left a glowing review. Our manager simply responded to her review with a photo of her cleaned plates and a screenshot of her earlier comments about how divine everything was. Later that day, we got a call from a nearby restaurant warning us about her. Apparently, she tries this at a different high-end restaurant every few weeks. They've started circulating her photo among the fine dining establishments in the area. The penny she left. We framed it and hung it behind the host's stand with a small plaque that reads, "World's most expensive penny cost, one Wagyu beef dinner." It's become quite the conversation piece. Our chef, who takes great pride in his food, had the best response. He's created a new dessert called the Clean Plate Complaint. It's an empty plate decorated with dots of fruit coulis and the words, "I hated it," written in chocolate. It's become our most popular dessert, especially among servers from other restaurants who've heard the story. We've also updated our policy. Any complaints about food quality must be made while eating, not after cleaning the plate. We call it the Karen Clause, though not to customers' faces, of course. The security guards told us later that they watched her get into a luxury car and drive straight to another high-end restaurant down the street. We called to warn them, but they said she'd already been banned there last month for trying the same thing. I guess some people think that the more expensive the restaurant, the more likely they are to comp a meal just to avoid a scene. What they don't realize is that high-end places can actually afford to lose a customer who tries to scam them.